Bible in a Year Live, Chronological Project, Week 23, Day 6, Good News Translation. King Jotham of Judah. In the second year of the reign of Pekah, son of Remaliah, as king of Israel, Jotham, son of Uzziah, became king of Judah at the age of 25, and he ruled in Jerusalem for 16 years. His mother was Jerusha, the daughter of Zadok. Following the example of his father Uzziah, Jotham did what was pleasing to the Lord. But the pagan places of worship were not destroyed, and the people continued to offer sacrifices and burned incense there. It was Jotham who built the north gate of the temple. Everything else that Jotham did is recorded in the history of the kings of Judah. It was while he was king that the Lord first sent King Rezin of Syria and King Pekah of Israel to attack Judah. Jotham died and was buried in the royal tombs in David's city, and his son Ahaz succeeded him as king. King Jotham of Judah. Jotham became king at the age of 25, and he ruled Jerusalem for 16 years. His mother was Jerusha, the daughter of Zadok. He did what was pleasing to the Lord, just as his father had done, but unlike his father, he did not sin by burning incense in the temple. The people, however, went on sinning. It was Jotham who built the north gate of the temple and did extensive work on the city wall in the area of Jerusalem called Ophel. In the mountains of Judah he built cities, and in the forests he built forts and towers. He fought against the king of Ammon and his army and defeated them. Then he forced the Ammonites to pay him the following tribute each year for 3 years: 4 tons of silver, 50,000 bushels of wheat, and 50,000 bushels of barley. Jotham grew powerful because he faithfully obeyed the Lord his God. The other events of Jotham's reign, his wars, and his policies are all recorded in the history of the kings of Israel and Judah. Jotham was 25 years old when he became king, and he ruled in Jerusalem for 16 years. He died and was buried in David's city, and his son Ahaz succeeded him as king. During the time that Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah were kings of Judah, the Lord gave this message to Micah, who was from the town of Moresheth. The Lord revealed to Micah all these things about Samaria and Jerusalem. A lament for Samaria and Jerusalem. Hear this, all you nations. Listen to this, all you who live on earth. The sovereign Lord will testify against you. Listen, he speaks from his heavenly temple. The Lord is coming from his holy place. He will come down and walk on the tops of the mountains. Then the mountains will melt under him like wax in a fire. They will pour down into the valleys like water pouring down a hill. All this will happen because the people of Israel have sinned and rebelled against God. Who is to blame for Israel's rebellion? Samaria, the capital city itself. Who is guilty of idolatry in Judah? Jerusalem itself. So the Lord says, I will make Samaria a pile of ruins in the open country, a place for planting grapevines. I will pour the rubble of the city down into the valley and will lay bare the city's foundations. All its precious idols will be smashed to pieces. Everything given to its temple prostitutes will be destroyed by fire, and all its images will become a desolate heap. Samaria acquired these things for its fertility rights, and now her enemies will carry them off for temple prostitutes elsewhere. Then Micah said, Because of this I will mourn and lament, to show my sorrow. I will walk around barefoot and naked. I will howl like a jackal and wail like an ostrich. Samaria's wounds cannot be healed, and Judah is about to suffer in the same way. Destruction has reached the gates of Jerusalem itself, where my people live. The enemy approaches Jerusalem. Don't tell our enemies in Gath about our defeat. Don't let them see you weeping. People of Beth Leaphrah, show your despair by rolling in the dust. You people of Shapher, go into exile, naked and ashamed. Those who live in Zaanan do not care to come out of their city. When you hear the people of Beth-ezel mourn, you will know that there is no refuge there. The people of Maroth anxiously wait for relief, because the Lord has brought disaster close to Jerusalem. You that live in Lachish, hitch the horses to the chariots. You imitated the sins of Israel and so caused Jerusalem to sin. And now, people of Judah, say goodbye to the town of Moresheth Gath. The kings of Israel will get no help from the town of Akzib. People of Mareshah, the Lord will hand you over to an enemy who is going to capture your town. The leaders of Israel will go and hide in the cave of Adullam. People of Judah, cut off your hair in mourning for the children you love. Make yourselves as bald as vultures, because your children will be taken away from you into exile. King Ahaz of Judah. In the 17th year of the reign of Pekah, son of Remaliah, as king of Israel, Ahaz, son of Jotham, became king of Judah at the age of 20, and he ruled in Jerusalem for 16 years. He did not follow the good example of his ancestor King David. Instead, he did what was not pleasing to the Lord his God, and followed the example of the kings of Israel. He even sacrificed his own son as a burnt offering to idols, imitating the disgusting practices of the people whom the Lord had driven out of the land as the Israelites advanced. At the pagan places of worship, on the hills and under every shady tree, Ahaz offered sacrifices and burned incense. King Rezin of Syria and King Pekah of Israel attacked Jerusalem and besieged it, but could not defeat Ahaz. At the same time, the king of Edom regained control of the city of Elath and drove out the Judeans who lived there. The Edomites settled in Elath and still live there. Ahaz sent men to Tiglath-Pileser, the emperor of Assyria, with this message: I am your devoted servant. Come and rescue me from the kings of Syria and of Israel, who are attacking me. Ahaz took the silver and gold from the temple and the palace treasury and sent it as a present to the emperor. Tiglath-Pileser, in answer to Ahaz's plea, marched out with his army against Damascus, captured it, killed King Rezin, and took the people of Kir as prisoners. King Ahaz of Judah. Ahaz became king at the age of 20, and he ruled in Jerusalem for 16 years. He did not follow the good example of his ancestor King David. Instead, he did what was not pleasing to the Lord, and followed the example of the kings of Israel. He had metal images of Baal made, burned incense in Hinnom Valley, and even sacrificed his own sons as burnt offerings to idols, imitating the disgusting practice of the people whom the Lord had driven out of the land as the Israelites advanced. At the pagan places of worship, on the hills and under every shady tree, Ahaz offered sacrifices and burnt incense. War with Syria and Israel. Because King Ahaz sinned, the Lord his God let the king of Syria defeat him and take a large number of Judeans back to Damascus as prisoners. The Lord also let the king of Israel, Pekah, son of Remaliah, defeat Ahaz and kill 120,000 of the bravest Judean soldiers in one day. The Lord, the God of their ancestors, permitted this to happen because the people of Judah had abandoned him. An Israelite soldier named Zikri killed King Ahaz's son, Maaseiah, the palace administered Azrikam, and Elkanah, who was second in command to the king. Even though the Judeans were their own relatives, the Israelite army captured 200,000 women and children as prisoners and took them back to Samaria, along with large amounts of loot. The prophet Obed. A man named Obed, a prophet of the Lord, lived in the city of Samaria. He met the returning Israelite army with its Judean prisoners as it was about to enter the city, and he said, The Lord God of your ancestors was angry with Judah and let you defeat them. But now he has heard of the vicious way you slaughtered them, and now you intend to make the men and women of Jerusalem and Judah your slaves. Don't you know that you also have committed sins against the Lord your God? Listen to me. These prisoners are your brothers and sisters. Let them go, or the Lord will punish you in his anger. 4 of the leading men of the northern kingdom, Azariah, son of Jehohanan, Berechiah, son of Meshillemoth, Jehizkiah, son of Shallum, and Amasa, son of Hadlai, also opposed the actions of the army. They said, Don't bring those prisoners here. We have already sinned against the Lord and made him angry enough to punish us. Now you want to do something that will increase our guilt? So then the army handed the prisoners and the loot over to the people and their leaders, and the 4 men were appointed to provide the prisoners with clothing from the captured loot. They gave them clothes and sandals to wear, gave them enough to eat and drink, and put olive oil on their wounds. Those who were too weak to walk were put on donkeys, And all the prisoners were taken back to Judean territory at Jericho, the city of palm trees. Then the Israelites returned home to Samaria. A message for King Ahaz. When King Ahaz, the son of Jotham and grandson of Uzziah, ruled Judah, war broke out. Rezin, king of Syria, and Pekah, son of Remaliah, king of Israel, attacked Jerusalem, but were unable to capture it. When word reached the king of Judah that the armies of Syria were already in the territory of Judah, he and all his people were so terrified that they trembled like trees shaking in the wind. The Lord said to Isaiah, "Take your son Shear-Jashub and go to meet King Ahaz. You will find him on the road where the cloth makers work, at the end of the ditch that brings water from the upper pool. Tell him to keep alert, to stay calm, and not to be frightened or disturbed. The anger of King Rezin and his Syrians and of King Pekah is no more dangerous than the smoke from two smoldering sticks of wood. Syria, together with Israel and its king, has made a plot. They intend to invade Judah, terrify the people into joining their side, and then put Tabel's son on the throne. But I, the Lord, declare that this will never happen. Why? Because Syria is no stronger than Damascus, its capital city, and Damascus is no stronger than King Rezin. As for Israel, within 65 years, it will be too shattered to survive as a nation. Israel is no stronger than Samaria, its capital city, and Samaria is no stronger than King Pekah. If your faith is not enduring, you will not endure." The sign of Emmanuel. The Lord sent another message to Ahaz. "Ask the Lord your God to give you a sign. It can be from deep in the world of the dead or from high up in the heaven." Ahaz answered, "I will not ask for a sign. I refuse to put the Lord to the test." To that Isaiah replied, "Listen now, descendants of King David. It's bad enough for you to wear out the patience of people. Do you have to wear out God's patience too? Well then, the Lord himself will give you a sign. A young woman who is pregnant will have a son and will name him Emmanuel. By the time he is old enough to make his own decisions, people will be drinking milk and eating honey. Even before that time comes, the lands of those two kings who terrify you will be deserted. The Lord is going to bring on you, on your people, and on the whole royal family days of trouble worse than any that have come since the king of Israel separated from Judah. He is going to bring the king of Assyria. When that time comes, the Lord will whistle as a signal for the Egyptians to come like flies from the farthest branches of the Nile, and for the Assyrians to come from their land like bees. They will swarm in the rugged valleys and in the caves in the rocks, and they will cover every thorn bush and every pasture. When that time comes, the Lord will hire a barber from across the Euphrates, the emperor of Assyria, and he will shave off your beards and the hair on your heads and your bodies. When that time comes, even if a farmer has been able to save only one young cow and 2 goats, they will give so much milk that he will have all he needs. Yes, the few survivors left in the land will have milk and honey to eat. When that time comes, the fine vineyards, each with 1,000 vines and each worth 1,000 pieces of silver, will be overgrown with thorn bushes and briars. People will go hunting there with bows and arrows. Yes, the whole country will be full of briars and thorn bushes. All the hills where crops were once planted will be so overgrown with thorns that no one will go there. It will be a place where cattle and sheep graze.